Hello everybody, long time no video, or at least long time, when you think about it in the context of how I try to make a video at least once a week on this channel. I've been taking some downtime more regularly this last month, just to sort of adjust and adapt to everything that's been going on. For those of you who may not have seen any of the announcements that I made, last month we said goodbye to Persephone, and that has been a big adjustment. That has been a big deal. And things are easier now, but I did not want to externalize my process as I go through this. I didn't want to invite a whole lot of emotional excesses and energetic excesses because I have my own process for going through these things, these kinds of situations. This is a bit unique for me because it's the first time in nearly 20 years where I haven't had a pet in the house. So I'm also kind of dealing with sort of an empty nest syndrome as well. But I also wanted to make sure that I was not inviting any kind of energy or any kind of connection that would fortify any veils that would come between me and proper connection and adaptation to, being able to stay in clear connection with my loved ones that are, out of the physical realm. And that brings me to the topic of this video. We're going to be talking about veils. We're going to be talking about energetic density. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because, this time of year, as we're approaching Halloween, end of October, the term thinning of the veils and dissolvement or dissolution of the veils is very, very popular. It gets thrown around a lot. But it's also something that can happen at any time of year. So if you're watching this at any other time of year, this is still very much relevant to your spiritual path, your psychic practice, your magical practice, because as we go through the raising of our consciousness, right, coming back into our true, organic, spiritual, higher levels of consciousness as an individual and as a collective, of course, we are going to be dissolving and eliminating veils around us. In fact, in addition to some of the titles I, take upon myself, right, wizard, magician, witch, path watcher, veil render is also another one, and that's been one that's been with me for some time. Now, the term veil can be a bit confusing. Sometimes people might not be referring to veils in terms of spiritual veils or magical veils or psychic veils or interrealm veils. They might be using it in more of a metaphorical sense or a hyperbolic sense, right? Talking more about, say, like the unburdening of a secret or information that's hidden or something held in confidence coming out. And of course, you've got those godforsaken fucks out there that are talking about it just in a geopolitical conspiracy attempt at spiritual awakening, whom I do not make these videos for. You invaded my happy space. You tore it apart, all the while screaming how much healing you needed. But you did help me make a very compelling villain origin story for myself. So I guess I can thank you for that. No, when we are talking about veils, we are talking about dense layers of energy that actually parse out phases of consciousness that we are experiencing at any given time. Now, it's important to remember that as spirits ourselves, right, we are spirits having a physical experience. We do not all exist entirely within the body or the energy centers of the body. We actually exist on multiple different phases. We have different layers of our aura. We have all kinds of different frequencies that we are vibrating on. When we are dealing with veils, we are dealing with obstructions or containments or dense fields that are creating a boundary between one phase and the next. And as I said a moment ago, as we raise in our consciousness and, our spiritual, psychic, and magical ability, we dissolve those veils within ourselves, but we also become renders, or, we become powers that also dissolve the veils around us. And so the more veils that are dissolved and eliminated we have clearer communication, not only with our own higher levels of consciousness, our higher selves, our oversoul, Godhead levels, all of our divine aspects, but also we have clearer communication with other spirits. Our psychic abilities, our spiritual abilities are more clear and on. We also have our perceptions such as sight, sound, taste, smell, all heightened, right? There isn't really such a thing as a sixth sense. What you're actually dealing with is a multiphasic or multidimensional expression of one of the five, right? When people talk about things like clairvoyance, right? Clear sight, being able to see beyond veils. Or for those of you who don't know, I am clairaudient. And so, psychic sense of smell is actually a big thing for me. I've had, situations where, I will smell something that will clue me in to something. I will get information. It will activate all kinds of different, I guess you could say, revelations and whatnot, just through either smelling something in the physical, or what's really interesting is when it shows up on the non-physical. I'll smell cigarette smoke when somebody is, about to text me and they're smoking a cigarette. I have an ex that I used to be able to smell him, and just his natural scent whenever he was thinking of me and I him. There's all kinds of different things that happen when veils get thin. When we're talking about times of year where veils become naturally thin, right, such as we go here to the end of October, beginning of November, or the end of April, beginning of May, those are two of the big ones. This is where we have an opportunity to not only release our own veils, but also accelerate the clearing and the dissolvement of the veils globally. That way, when it comes to spirit communication or accelerating our skills or abilities, our own growth, our own evolution of consciousness, we are getting way, way, way ahead. Other things can also dissolve veils around us, right? Not only our own work, our own, efforts with ourselves and our own journey, but also shifts when it comes to major energetic events that might be going on, astrological events, seasonal events, or things that may change just on a planetary level itself. We are going through a period where, not just now at the end of October or not just in April or May, but any time of year, different energetic spikes and things like that will dissolve veils themselves. And people will be more on, and the people who are spiritual practitioners, the people who are savvy psychic practitioners and magical practitioners will stay in that new level of on. People who are not may experience the sort of rise, but then just kind of fall back in, if that is what they choose to do, or that is what they are going to do because they're not aware of what's going on. Veils are created through the stacking of denser energy forms. So we talk about denser energy forms, right? We can look at that in terms of thought forms. We can look at that in terms of dense emotional forms, denser emotional currents, but also the very energies that might hold up a certain reality experience, community form. You might call it a mini matrix or a timeline. Those also hold up and reinforce veils. And so sometimes what ends up needing to happen is you need to be able to release and eliminate those energies or those experiences in order to be able to perforate and then clear and eliminate veils around you. You are probably all aware, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I do a lot of grid work. I'm not the only one, but, a part of the efforts of that grid work is to dissolve and eliminate any kind of stacking of lower dense energies and artificial constructs and thought forms that hold veils in their thickness. And so that way, again, it's sort of helping everybody to move forward when it comes to growing their own consciousness, right? The elimination of old timelines and dead realities and things like that. That also is a part of opening the veils for yourself. You may have veils within your energy field, self-imposed, self-created, or you may be dealing with a situation that is collectively co-created or sustained, and that has been a thing for some time. Again, it is going away, it is getting eliminated, but once upon a time, we didn't have veils. It's important to keep that in mind, right? When we look back in terms of our collective experience, we didn't have veils, but as, we became more physically and emotionally sort of attached to this particular phase that we've existed in, we've kind of fortified our own veils against it. And yes, there were certain things also going on, organized religion and whatnot that, again, played a part in that. But now we're in a spot where it's kind of like, all right, the pendulum is swinging the other way. And the more we can release when it comes to the veils about ourselves and the veils around us, the more access we have to the greater spiritual expanse that is our real organic reality. Again, free of those denser, lower energy forms and old dead timelines and realities and all of that. When you are in a space where you are trying to develop your own spiritual skills, establish a spiritual communication, maybe you're doing psychic work, even tarot or runes, or you are trying to perhaps engage in some kind of magical activity. When you experience what could be seen as blocks, sometimes you're not dealing with blocks, you're dealing with the formation of a veil. Veils are essentially the obstructions between a complete spiritual experience and openness and awareness of all creation. Maybe I'll come back and talk about that in another video. Or you could consider, setting up some crystals on the grid. I'll leave a link to that when it comes to planting crystals and things like that. That's a huge part of it as well, as far as my practice is concerned. But this has just been a little chat I wanted to have about veils and to help disambiguate the term, but also help people understand what those of us who are, spiritual practitioners, wizards, witches, magicians, and path watchers and veil renders are talking about when we are talking about veils. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And I will be back again soon. Take care.